you talk to soldiers and who are reservists. Let's say I have, some friends who are reservists, and you bring up to them things like, just simple stuff, 2 plus 2, like, why didn't the army show up for 7 hours? Why did the government send you guys to the border for, make you wait for 3 weeks? Aren't you guys getting antsy? Yeah, they say, yeah, we were antsy. And I'm like, don't you think there's something a little bit odd? And the answer you usually get from these guys, these very good guys who are, I consider them tzaddikim, but they say, what you're saying is, what you're asking me is above my pay grade. And I I don't understand. I don't understand their response. I don't understand. I literally told this one guy, I'm like, what? It's above your pay grade to think? No, he's like, well, I'm a soldier and they're politicians. And I'm like, sure, but you vote, right? And there's reasons you vote for, I don't know, this guy versus this guy, right? Why? Because you use your brain and your mind to think about, okay, what policy would this guy, you know, employ, install versus that guy, right? As if there's any difference. But, let's just assume that there is, right? So if you're a citizen of the country and you vote a certain way and you have certain values, you have certain, and I'm not, at this point, I'm not even talking about like left wing or right wing. I'm just talking about just basic common sense. Someone's attacking your country, and this supposedly mighty army or the supposedly mighty technology that where if a caterpillar passes gas, we know for sure. So then and you're not asking the question, and Mordechai gave me the answer basically. Well, a lot of people in Israel have been kind of conditioned to just not ask certain questions, or just to kind of like believe that the government is basically taking care of it and they are on top of it, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. At best, I was just recently in Israel and I spoke to some family friends, and they told me, well, they are investigating now, and they did fire some people, and a couple of heads did roll. And I said, I hope you guys understand. There's two things. First of all, the heads that rolled, these are just they're just making kind of an exam. They're just throwing people
Fall
a
guy.
bone
It's called
here.
the fall guy.
Yeah, it's a
Fall guy.
fall guy. The second aspect is, even if you fire people, you have an obligation to tell the public what the hell happened. So now the answer is, when I ask that, when I go further and ask and escalate the discussion to that level, they say, well, now is not the time. I said,
Great.
when? Just 1 second. I said, when will be the time? Tell me, designate a time. Write it down on a piece of paper. When you tell me what the time is, will be for the moment we can talk about this. We can investigate it. I will be there and we'll talk about it. Tell me what the time is.
Okay. Dan,
Calendar,
please.
date, and clock.
I want to shorten this whole concept for a second, because I've had the same conversation that you're having, and and basically here's what I say all the stuff that's FUBAR, the Israeli government's FUBAR, okay,
Yeah.
and effed up beyond all recognition. And when you talk to Israeli about this, that, which means if you keep bothering me about this, I have to storm the Bastille. Did I say that right? Storm the Bastille, right? And I don't, and so that's that's very extreme. That's probably be inconvenient for my future plans with my family and my career. So you're pushing my mind to the point where the only way to address what you're complaining about is for us to just literally kill the entire political class of Israel and then reform the government. So that's why it's difficult to have this conversation, because what we have to do about it is so extreme. It's so difficult.
Frank,
Well,
Frank,
there
the thing
still are.
I was just gonna say, Frank, the thing with, to be honest with you, man, have you been seeing what was going on right before October 7th?
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay, so those people, I know some of them personally, these fruitcakes in Tel Aviv, and I'm not talking about their sexual orientation. These people work at startups. They're very, very, people think these people don't have jobs. Some of them don't, but a lot of them do. They're very busy people. They're very busy people. They're very intelligent people. They took off from their jobs at their startups that have venture capital firms that fund them, that need them to do work. They have a timeline of when they're supposed to produce. they took off because they believe in whatever cause that, we think it's stupid, but they really believe in that cause. And as you could see, and some of them were funded and some of them were not funded, some of them went on their own volition, on their own money, right? And it's not that difficult, as you could clearly see. So if these idiots can do it, we sure could do it, and probably even better if we believe in something.
Well,
Just like people who are sitting, the three of us, like people like us, believe in the Torah and are willing to do seemingly, crazy things and give up certain, seemingly things that people are like, how can you give this up, right? Even for a week or for the rest of your life, or stop eating this and stop doing that, and you have to go do this and you have to go pray here and you have to go learn that. That's crazy, right? The same enthusiasm we have for the Torah and for Hashem, right? I'm not calling myself a tzaddik. I mean, it's not that difficult. If you believe in something and you think that the government is literally, I know a lot of people who say the same things that we're saying. The government is like this. The government.
We don't have a single Rabbi Akiva to support us in this. We don't have a single Rabbi Akiva to support this, our Bar Kochba. Not one. Not a single one in the whole nation. They have a million Rabbi Akivas on their side, who are supporting them and and pushing them with money and support, and you don't have that. That's why we need one.
We don't have it, but it's also a different time. Every human being has a different scale of influence than what they used to have back then, and that everybody has a greater measure of informational power that they can wield if they know that they have the power and if they're smart enough to know how to wield it. I mean, if you have such intelligent people who are businessmen and they're responsible and they can be either so clueless about their own government and how they're betraying them, or they could be on totally the wrong side of the argument. All of it is because of how their minds were nourished by the media. It started in school and it just continues, and they're offered a view of reality which they would no sooner question than hundreds of years ago people would question cosmology or Christianity or whatever the thing was. They just don't question it. And if somebody, it's in Hebrew we say that wisdom is called chachma, and chachma are the letters koach ma, the ability to ask what, to look at a thing and clear your mind of your preconceived notions and just ask what is going on. Well, the 7.5, 8 hours that they didn't show up, what? If somebody is full of an ideology that precludes his asking certain questions because they're heretical questions to a certain ideology or worldview or country or government or party or rabbi or anything, but he's being intellectually dishonest on purpose, that's a sin. Death will result from that. It may result in short term, it may result for the person's family, but it's a decision the person makes. And I've said this before on this program, and maybe certain things have to be repeated over and over again, but what we put into our head is just as much of a responsibility what we put into our bodies in terms of the food and the nutrition, nourishment, whether we're talking about kashrus, whether we're talking about health. And it's a sin to put things in that are going to mess you up or lead you astray. And that's what everybody does when he consumes mainstream media, including Jewish mainstream media, including and especially.